The years after World War I marked a bloody time for the history of Ireland. After winning a landslide election to Parliament in December 1918, the Sinn Féin party chose not to sit in Westminster. Rather, it established its own Irish Parliament and declared itself independent from the United Kingdom on January 21st, 1919. What followed was the Irish War of Independence, a guerrilla conflict fought in the streets and the countryside. It was highly personal and extremely violent. One of the Irish leaders was Michael Collins, a politician who was also the Director of Intelligence for the Irish Republican Army in September 1919. Collins had witnessed the suppression of Irish nationalists during the 1916 Easter Rising and was determined not to wage an open war with the British Army. Michael Collins was indeed a wanted man and hid in Dublin. The British government offered £10,000 for Collins, dead or alive. But tempting as the reward was, none would dare take it, and those that were tempted found themselves dead at the hands of the IRA, with a calling card that read, "Convicted spy executed by orders of the IRA." The British were ramping up efforts to suppress the rebellion, and the British government introduced new military units to supplement the police force, the Royal Irish Constabulary, with black and tans, nicknamed because of their mismatched uniforms, and the Auxiliary Division, or Auxies. Both were infamous for the brutality against Irish citizens in reprisal for IRA actions, such as the sacking of Cork, where Michael Collins' home was burned. Also, there were British Secret Service units operating in the area. Of particular concern to Michael Collins was the 18-man Cairo Gang. They were called this because of their shared Middle Eastern service, or because some of them frequented the Cairo Cafe in Dublin. The group was formulated by MI5, in response to them being outmaneouvered in Ireland. And in response, MI5 had trained around 60 specifically selected ex-army officers in London. These men were to be infiltrated individually into Irish society with the aim of breaking the IRA. This group was of particular concern to Michael Collins. The Cairo Gang had covertly entered Dublin in 1920 and expanded from spying activities to assassinations. Their plan was to kill prominent members of Sinn Féin and make it seem like a fractional dispute within the IRA. Given orders from their commanding officers, the Cairo Gang adopted the strategy of assassinating members of Sinn Féin unconnected with the military struggle, assuming this would cause the IRA to respond and bring its leaders into the open. As they were closing in, Collins realises he needed to get to them first. His spy network was efficient and allowed him to track and identify the gang's leaders, Colonel Peter Ames and Major George Bennett. Soon enough, Collins acquired a list of other members of the gang, as well as other suspected agents. Collins' original list had out 50 names, but this was cut to 35 due to insufficient evidence. With time of the essence, he and his closest confederates, called the Inner Circle, plotted a hit that could change the outcome of their insurgency. To plot the assassinations, Collins employed the Squad. This is a group of assassins that was unofficially formed in July 1919 with 8 men and became sanctioned on September 19th, 1919. Despite being called the Squad, these dozen assassins were also known as the 12 Apostles, but to British authorities they were simply criminals. These men, mostly in their 20s, were tradesmen, clerks and other workers who were devoted to the cause of Irish independence, and they were only paid £4, £10 a week. The only people who could order an actual assassination was Michael Collins, or when he wasn't present, the IRA Chief of Staff or the Commandant of the Dublin IRA Brigades. The Squad had no illusions about what they did. One apostle, Vincent Byrne, said, "We never thought we'd win or lose, we just wanted to have a go. We'd go out in pairs, walk up the target and do it, and split. You wouldn't be nervous while you were waiting to plug them, but you'd imagine everyone was looking into your face. On a typical job, we'd use about 8, including the backup. Nobody got in our way. One of us would knock him over with the first shot, and the other would finish him off with a shot to the head." Despite Byrne's descriptions, assassinations were meticulously planned. Targets were surveilled sometimes for weeks prior to execution so that squad members could fully understand their target's strengths and weaknesses. One squad member, Joe Dolan, recalled, "We knew he had a bulletproof waistcoat, so we shot him in the head." In reaction to the assassinations, the British banned Sinn Féin and the Irish Parliament. This helped bolster public support for the Irish rebels. The evening before the strike against the Cairo Gang, the squad gathered at Tower Hall in Dublin. More men were assigned to the operation to augment their strength, and they were divided into teams and given addresses of where to find their targets. About 20 different men suspected of being in or working for the British Security Service. This counter-intelligence effort would culminate on the 21st of November, a Sunday, when the order was given to liquidate these deep-cover British spies. That Sunday, the hits all took place at 9 a.m. The squad entered a target's home or apartment and conducted the execution. Sometimes it went smoothly. Such was the case of the assassination of Ames and Bennett, who were killed simultaneously. However, other times it didn't. The target sometimes was not home, and at least one escaped. In total, the squad shot 19 men that day, resulting in 14 immediate deaths and a 15th being mortally wounded. Collins had no qualms about the assassinations that day, and is quoted as saying, "My own intention was the destruction of the undesirables who continued to make miserable the lives of the ordinary decent citizens of Ireland. If I had another motive, it was no more than a feeling such as I would have for a dangerous reptile. There is no crime in detecting and destroying in wartime. The spy and the informer, they have destroyed without trial, and I have paid them back with their own coin." The elimination of the Cairo Gang was seen in Dublin as an intelligence victory, but British Prime Minister Lloyd George commented dismissively that his men got what they deserved and were beaten by better counter-jumpers. Winston Churchill also added that they were careless fellows who ought to have taken precautions. As panic set in amongst the British intelligence community in Dublin, they organised an unauthorised reprisal. At Croke Park, a Gaelic football game was underway with a crowd of about 5,000. Gaelic football is an Irish game, and despite historic British attempts to euthanise Irish culture, its practice persisted, despite occupation. At 3:25, a number of RIC black and tans and auxiliaries arrived on the scene. In the middle of the game, the authorities opened fire into the crowd, resulting in 12 deaths, including one player. November 21st, 1920 would come to be known as one of several bloody Sundays in Irish history. In the aftermath, the violence helped the IRA militarily by disrupting the British intelligence network, as well as further turning public opinion against the British, especially due to the incident at Croke Park. Assassinations and counter-assassinations would continue until a truce was called on July 11, 1921. The Anglo-Irish Treaty marked the end of the war and created the Irish Free State as we know it today.